Look at all those CDs. Hi, everybody. I'm in the studio. My name is Michael Stock. I do a radio show on WLRN in Miami every Sunday at 3. So right now it's 3 o'clock, Sunday, August 10th. And when I have live guests in my studio, I bring them to you thanks to Kyle today, who's a cameraman. Rod MacDonald is here. We saw a sample of his recordings. I guess this is all of it, huh? Do you know?
I was just looking to see. It looks like all of it.
Is this your first one?
Yeah, that's my first album, full album.
Rod's first album. It was an album, not a CD when it was first released. And this is, 80 something?
1983 it came out,
83.
December of 83.
This was when Rod was living in New York. And part of the fast folk scene and the Cornelia Street Underground. A lot of things happened.
I do believe you have them all.
Yeah. Plus, Big Brass Bed. This is the Bob Dylan band that Rod is part of, and they're going to be in concert actually on Friday. Big Brass Bed. There's another Big Brass Bed. And when Rod feels like doing Irish music, he gets together with Tracy Sands. Her cousin is Tommy Sands?
Yeah, Tommy and Cullum, both are cousins.
Tommy and Cullum Sands are relative of Tracy. She lives up in West Palm.
We're playing Fort Lauderdale on the 22nd.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Where in Fort Lauderdale?
We play the Galway Shawl. It's on Commercial Boulevard East.
When is that? August 22nd?
Yeah.
Galway Shaw.
Yeah.
With Tracy. Okay, we have 1 minute. Start this here.
Yeah, you got them all, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
You even got one I don't have.
Well, you gave it to me.
I know. I didn't think I kept one for myself, though. I get sick of looking at myself sometimes. I sold all my LPs, including my own.
When did you do that?
A couple of years ago. My wife bought a turntable last year for our kids, and now she goes, "How come we don't have any of your LPs?"
Oh, no.
I got rid of them years ago. She goes, "How could you do that? You didn't even save any for yourself."
I saw some press about, who's the banjo player? Roger Sprung. Did you play with Roger back in the...
Well, I never played on stage with him, but I played in the parking lot with him a few times.
He used to go to every record store and buy his own albums. It was very funny being with this guy. Hold on. Good afternoon and welcome to Folk and Acoustic Music. My name is Michael Stock, here every Sunday on 91.3 WLRN, opening up the program new music from Grain Thief. Their album is called House of the Dog, and we heard the instrumental Tapa Wingo. I'll be playing some new music today, and I do have interviews. In a little while, I'll talk to El Jury. El Jury is a Latin female guitarist from New York. She has a Latin band, and her new album is called Así es el Mundo. I'll have an interview with El Jury this afternoon. But first, I have an interview with Rod MacDonald, who's here. Rod, welcome back to
Hi, Mike. Good to see you.
You too.
Should I get closer to this?
Yeah, might as well.
How about that?
So you just returned. Your home is in Miami, but you've been traveling. Where have you been lately?
Well, my family and I went on a summer vacation. We went to North Carolina, Michigan, spent a month in Toronto in Canada. Just rented a little basement apartment in a really cool neighborhood. And
in Toronto?
Hung out. Yeah, it was great. It was very inexpensive and really fun. Got to do a lot of stuff. Got to hear a lot of good local music. Played a couple places.
So you did bring your guitar on vacation?
Oh, of course. I played a Freedom Festival in upstate New York during that time. That was at the National Abolitionist Hall of Fame outside of Syracuse, in a little town called Peterborough. That was the residence, the mansion home of a guy who was a very prominent member of the Underground Railroad in the 1800s.
How'd you get that gig?
They called me on the phone, asked if I'd come up and do it. I don't know I have no idea otherwise, but they said they were familiar with my music and they thought I'd be a great fit. They actually asked me if I'll do it again next year. So I said sure.
That's an important part of your job, is calling up places and trying to get a gig.
I suppose it is. I do some of it. Sometimes people call me. Sometimes things just kind of happen, you know. You do have to kind of keep your eye on your calendar and make sure you're as busy as you want to be, or at least remotely as busy as you want to be.
I have some of your CDs and albums on display for the Facebook feed, but
I think you have all of them, actually. It looks to me.
have you? Are you surprised you're doing this? 40 years from when you started?
Oh, I'm going on 50. In
50.
fact, I'm past 50. I'm past 50. I think I officially went pro in spring in 1973.
Are you surprised? 50 years later, you're still producing and singing and making albums?
No, probably not. I think that I always thought of myself as a lifer. There's a phrase that we used to use in the village. The ones that we knew who we were, the lifers, and we knew the ones that were kind of passing through, that were going to go on and do something else.
So if you're a lifer and you don't have that hit in New York City, when do you, when do you pivot? When do you do something else?
Well, I do a lot of other things. I have a lot of other interests. I just kind of follow my interests and do what I want to do. I've written 2 novels, have a couple that I've finished and haven't published yet.
Is that because you have that creativity in you, or you have to find other ways to make money?
I've always liked writing. I was a journalist. I worked for Newsweek for a couple of years during the summers when I was in school. I've always liked writing. So,
how often do you write?
Not nearly enough. I sit down when I kind of feel motivated. When I feel like I have the next scene or chapter kind of formulated in my mind, then I'll sit down and I'll start working on it, and it'll kind of work itself out.
So it works out. So when you write a song, does it have a purpose? Do you have a point of view? The reason for writing a song?
Sometimes just stuff comes to you, like a line of music or a line of words. Sometimes I have a deliberate purpose. Actually, I wrote a song last night. Sort of has a deliberate purpose.
You wrote it after watching the news, or was it something on your mind for a while?
It's probably something that's been bouncing around in my mind for a while. I was listening to Jesse Wells. We were just talking about that before we came on the air. Who's a young singer-songwriter that I don't know much about, but he's been writing some very good songs, I think. And I kind of started thinking I should get off my butt and get to work. He's a lot younger than I am. He's probably got a lot of room to write yet, but
you told me that
I thought it was cool.
You told me that he tries to write a song a day.
Something like that. I've heard that. I don't know the guy personally. I don't know that much.
Have you ever tried to do something like that?
I think when I was his age, I probably did write a song a day. I wrote tons of songs that I threw away or didn't ever play much, or they got assimilated into other songs. Sometimes you write a song and then you look at it and you go, well, that's a good start. And then you maybe write a whole other unrelated song and you go, well, that's not a bad song. And then you maybe figure out, hey, these two could fit together, somehow.
Would it be too much for me to ask what you wrote last night?
I could play it for you.
Let's hear it.
This is drawing board stuff, so why not? But I think the lesson I took from Jesse Wells, besides the fact that I think it's cool what he's doing, was that it's too easy to get too self-important. You can spend months working on a particular song, and that's okay. But sometimes you just want to knock it out and move on. So this is maybe a knockout and move on song. I don't really know. We'll see how it goes.
Okay, here's Rod MacDonald.
I don't care what party you're in. I don't care what you're trying to do. If you're out there keeping people from voting, brother, you're bound to lose. I don't care if you don't like what's said, or the words aren't your point of view. If you're not supporting my right to speak freely, brother, you're bound to lose. Brother, you're bound to lose. I don't care how much money you have, or how much better you think that makes you. If you're getting rich, making other people suffer, it'll take you down one way or the other. I don't care how righteous you are. I don't care who you're praying to. If If you're disrespecting the beliefs of others, brother, you're bound to lose. Brother, you're bound to lose. I don't care how much power you have or what enemies you plan to pursue. If you're not fighting for everyone's freedom, brother, you're bound to lose. Hey, I don't care what party you're in, I don't care what you're trying to do. If you're out there keeping people from voting, brother, you're bound to lose. Brother, you're bound to lose.
Rod MacDonald, live in the WLRN studio.
You know, while it's fresh in my mind, I can tell you what sort of goes into writing a song like that.
Sure.
Couple things, various different things. One was trying to write something simple, a statement. Another is I've been trying to write some songs that are about what's going on in our country and the world that are not partisan, but are still have values. So I'd say this is one of those. This is not particularly, I don't care what party you're in, says it in the opening line.
How can anybody disagree with that song?
How could you disagree with that song? Yes, of course. Well, there are people who will.
Well,
but that's their problem, not mine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other component. It's their problem, not mine. But I'll tell you what, one other aspect of it that interested me is I was just listening to the most recent CD from Chuck Brodsky, our good pal, and I really liked the straightforwardness of the way he wrote a couple songs, and I thought I want to try to put that into a song, that straightforwardness, that right directly coming right at you kind of feeling.
You always did that, I thought.
I do sometimes. Sometimes I tell a story that you have to get like 10 lines into before you know what's going on. So this was the opposite of that in a way.
What time was it that you wrote that?
Last night.
That early, late?
Well, late at night, probably 11, 12 o'clock.
Was it fast? Did it come out quickly?
Well, I had started sketching the words out previously, so I had a little bit of a down already, and then I just kind of went, okay, I think I'll work on this, and kept going.
Well,
but I didn't have any music. The reason I stopped the first time around was because I didn't have any music. And then I started thinking, well, how do I want to play it? I want to play it simply and straightforward in a way that just allows the words to kind of go.
I was, in the last few weeks or so, talking to protest singers. One thing that has become clear is that the message that you send has to be put in like a positive light. If you're negative or if you're angry, I think people won't listen to it, or it'll get passed. If you do something positive, or it'll be, I guess, more effective.
I don't think that's true, actually.
No?
I think that you can and might as well do all of it. I do think you can't just like rant negatively. Just like I don't think you can do any one thing all the time of any kind. If it's all sweetness and light and we're all going to hold hands all around the world, people get tired of that pretty fast too.
There's something missing there. It is.
I think so. So to me, I think you do different things. I definitely have some songs that are angry rants, and then I have others that are more positive, and everything in between and outside those boundaries too, probably.
How much of that song or your angry rants is for you rather than your audience?
Oh, there's nothing in this song that I don't stand behind. I wouldn't sing something I don't stand behind.
I see. So,
so in the beginning, it's both in a certain sense. It's talking to an audience, what an imagined audience. For a song like this, sometimes it's just you telling a story from your own heart.
That song would fit into the concert you mentioned earlier. What did you call it? You were invited back to next year.
Oh yeah, the Freedom concert. Yeah, I did a concert for the National Abolitionist Hall of Fame this summer, and they would definitely like that song.
What do abolitionists do these days?
Well, it's a museum of the abolitionist movement.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I think they advocate for racial equality. They're definitely opponents of the anti-diversity crusade going on in Washington. They think that's wrong. Let me rephrase that. We think that's wrong. I'm totally in agreement with them on that one.
Yeah.
I think that they have great respect for activists who, I mean, there's very little less activist than being a member of the Underground Railroad in those days. You risked your life. You not only were transporting people to freedom, but it was completely against the law to do so at the time.
You feel completely safe singing these songs, though, right? But there was no at the abolitionist concert. There was no threat of protesting the protest.
Yeah, no, I didn't see anybody there like that. I feel pretty safe singing my songs. I don't really think about it in that regard. I don't sing political songs in like dinner parties. I mean, I do a wide range of work. And if I'm playing, in some place where people are just coming to have dinner and have no idea what they're getting musically, I don't do a lot of political songs.
Well, you do a lot of variety, not only your own songs, but you have a band that covers mostly Bob Dylan songs.
Yeah.
In fact, you have a concert this Friday.
Yes, we're playing Big Brass Bed. We're playing the Bamboo Room in Lake Worth, 25 South J Street in Lake Worth, 8 o'clock Friday night. I should mention that tickets at the door will be $15. Tickets in advance are $10. So if you go to Big Brass Bed, all one word, BIGBRASSBED.com, you can get advance tickets for $10. And no fees. That's it. That's all you pay.
That's good. So that's Friday night at the Bamboo Room.
Yeah, that's Friday night.
Speaking of Bob Dylan, he's on tour right now, is he?
Yeah, I guess so.
Can you imagine
Isn't
that?
he always on tour? It seems like he's always on tour to me.
That's right, the never-ending tour.
It's called the never-ending tour, I think.
Have you seen Dylan in concert?
Not since October 2019. I went to the Broward Center and saw a show, which I really liked. I thought was very good.
No, really?
But I did something that I had never done before. It was my third time seeing him. And the first two were good, but you couldn't really make the words out a lot of the time. When I went to the Broward Center, I bought a ticket in what was practically the last row of the balcony. I was way up top. And because of that, I didn't hear any of the amplifiers or drums from the stage. I only heard through the PA, and I could hear the words really clearly. So it was actually really good.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you've been doing this Bob Dylan band, I guess, for at least two decades.
Yeah, we started in 2002, I think.
Has the band evolved like Dylan has evolved?
Sure. Oh, yeah, we pick up new songs now and then. We have changed members. Bill Meredith, the drummer, and I are still the two original members of the band. We're on about our fourth bass player and our probably third or fourth keyboard player and third or fourth lead guitar player. But everybody in the band's been with us now for about 2 or 3 years, so everybody's pretty solid.
That band doesn't compete with you, per se. The Rod MacDonald, do you ever come across venues and say, I want Big Brass Bed, I don't want Rod MacDonald?
No, not really. I don't think anybody says that. Generally speaking, if I were playing a band gig, I would hire the same guys.
Oh, I see.
They know they know a fair amount of my songs too, and I like them, and we're all friends, and they're all really good players and serious professionals. So I have no reason to hire anybody else particularly.
Rod MacDonald's here in the studio. Another song, Rod.
Okay, I wanted to do this song. This is a kind of an interesting story. I'll make the story as brief as I can, but. Some years ago, I was back when I was recording my CD later that night. I was asked to join the house band at the Ethical Culture Day School during the summer. I did this for a few summers.
Is that here in South Florida?
No, it's in Riverdale, New York. It's in the Bronx, north of Manhattan. And my kids got to go to it while I did this. I would do it for like a week at a time, 3-4 days. And it was really fun, and my kids got to go on field trips with him and look for slugs in the Hudson River and all kinds of crazy stuff. But one of the guys in the band was a guy named Michael Lydon, and I didn't know anything about him. He was older than me, except that every day every day after lunch, we had an hour free, and then we would set up a sound system and play a concert in the quad for the kids, like a couple hundred kids on the grass.
Michael is also a performer?
He was in the band.
I see, okay.
He was primarily, I thought, a jazz guitar player. And so we would sit in a room by ourselves for an hour, and he would bring 2 or 3 charts, and we'd just jam and play guitar and sing for each other, and we got to be pretty good pals, and he was a really, really good guy and a very good guitar player. And then I brought in a song one day and said I was working on this song, but I had some problems with it. I couldn't seem to finish it. And so I printed out the lyrics for him, and he sat down and he went over it with me, and he helped me finish it. He made several really good suggestions. He just passed away. He was 82. And I read his obit in the New York Times, and it turned out that he was a writer, one of the earliest writers and founding members of Rolling Stone magazine. And he was like a serious rock critic back when I didn't even read Rolling Stone. I had no interest in it at that time. And he had quite a career before I ever knew him that I knew nothing about. He never mentioned it. So anyway, I just wanted to sing this song that we wrote together today because he was such a good guy, and I really like the song. It's one that I'm sure I'll play all my life. So here we go.
Here's Rod MacDonald.
Did you hear about the guitarist? Broke his arm in an automobile. They told him he'd never work again. He refused to take that deal. He had the doctors fix his elbow to hold the guitar where his fingers curled. At 94, he was one of the best guitarists in the world. And that's why you play the game, 'cause you never ever know what you can do till you do your best, till you put yourself to the test. Then win or lose, you showed you stood tall just the same. My little darling, that's why you play the game. And there was a girl who wanted to go to a school that wouldn't let her in. They told her to just get married, let men do the important things. But she'd earned her grades and she sued that school, and to that school she went. And now that university has a woman president. And that's why you play the game, 'cause you never ever know what you can do till you do your best, till you put yourself to the test. Then win or lose, you showed you stood tall just the same. My little darling, that's why you play the game. And there was a champion boxer who refused to go to war. He said, I got nothing against anybody, I don't know what they're fighting for. He stood up for his convictions, and they declared him a free man. And that title that they took away, he won it back again. And that's why you play the game, 'cause you never ever know what you can do till you do your best, till you put yourself to the test. Then win or lose, you showed you stood tall just the same. My little darlings, that's why you play the game. Now when I was a younger man, they said I was wasting my time, trying to sing my songs for you, living my life in rhyme. It's True, I don't ride in limos, own a mansion in Malibu. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm here singing this song for you. And that's why you play the game, 'cause you never ever know what you can do till you do your best, till you put yourself to the test. Then win or lose, you showed you stood tall just the same. My little darlings, that's why you play the game. And hey, how about that scientist was completely paralyzed? Had to talk to people through a voice encoder that read the movements of his eyes. Could have wasted away in a wheelchair, but he had too much on his mind. Won a Nobel Prize for the books he wrote, one blink at a time. And that's why you play the game, 'cause you never ever know what you can do till you do your best, till you put yourself to the test. Then win or lose, you showed you stood tall just the same. My little darling, that's why you play the game. There's always someone to tell you you can't live out your dreams. They'll say you'll never be good enough, never make it in that scene. Well, you can stand there doing nothing, you'll be finished before you start. But who are you gonna believe anyway? Someone else or your own heart? And that's why you play the game, 'cause you never ever know what you can do till you do your best, till you put yourself to the test. Then win or lose, you showed you stood tall just the same. My little darlings, that's why you play the game. My little darlings, that's why you play the game.
Rod MacDonald, live in the WLRN studio. Rod, that song's genius. That's a great song. I could see why you'd want to sing that for the rest of your career here.
You know, I think Michael was the guy who told me who insisted on that last verse. He said, you got to put something of yourself in that song. Or you've got to kind of put a point to it, and also the verse about, here I am, ladies and gentlemen. He was very adamant about those things.
That sent shivers when you were singing about yourself, putting yourself. I guess you're comparing yourself to Ali and Ruth Ginsburg and Django Reinhardt.
Well, not really comparing myself. No, actually, it's Les Paul.
Oh, it was Les Paul.
Verse. Oh, he was the one who had an auto accident as a young man, and he had the surgeons put his arm in a bent position so that he could hold the neck of a guitar, because they told him he wouldn't have any ability to change where he moved his arm. It was going to be in a fixed position for the rest of his life.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And the second one's not Ruth Ginsburg. The second one, actually, I was a student at the University of Virginia when it was all male. The state university was all male and had been so for 160 years. And they lost a case in the Supreme Court, and were required to admit women on an equal basis. And actually, I wrote a letter to Newsweek magazine telling them about it and said, you want me to interview anybody? And they said, no, but we want you to come to Washington and work for us, covering the March on Washington.
That's how you got the
job?
job?
So that's how I ended up working for Newsweek.
Oh, that's great.
And then I was driving through Virginia with my family one summer, and I picked up a newspaper, and it had an interview with the president of the university, and it was a woman, Kathleen Sullivan, her name was, I think, if I remember right. And I thought, how cool, a woman's president of this university after all that. And then Muhammad Ali, and then myself, I suppose, and then the last one would be Stephen Hawking, I guess.
Was there any thought of putting those people's names in the song?
No, no, I don't really think so. I thought it would be better to just leave it as it is and let their story be what's important, not their name.
Well,
because if you put their name in there, then people's minds immediately wander off in another direction, and they miss the point of your verse. Like Muhammad Ali changed American law. He didn't just defeat the draft system. He actually changed American law.
I didn't know that.
I can tell you this from personal experience because before Muhammad Ali was put on trial to be a conscientious objector, you had to be a member of a pacifist religion. The Supreme Court, in their decision freeing him, said that the draft boards, because of inherent racism and other factors, were inherently unable to determine what was a bona fide religion or not. They said the black Muslims were not a bona fide religion. They said, rather than saying that the black Muslims were a bona fide religion, they simply said the draft boards weren't qualified to say one way or the other. So then the standard became that to be a conscientious objector, you had to be opposed to war as a religious belief and be able to show that you had acted upon it and spoken upon it. And that actually is the grounds on which I was released from military service as a CO.
And that's why Muhammad Ali got out of jail?
He changed the laws. He got the laws changed with his court case.
Wow. So you got out of military service too?
Well, I served a brief period of time in the reserves and actually went through officers training school, but they discharged me for their own good, they said.
Yeah. Did you do any nefarious things in camp, or were you trying to get out?
I had filed a petition to get out. I didn't do anything nefarious. I actually behaved, conscientiously. But I participated in class debates, and they, at one point, asked me to go sit on the fire escape for a while because they didn't like the things that I said. And then the base commander said to me when they let me out, he said, I recommended they let you out weeks ago. He goes, we considered you a distraction to the other students.
Well, that's very interesting. That's very interesting, Rod. That sounds like a song. It should be written about that.
Well, I wrote that song "Stop the War." Actually, is on White Buffalo. Is a summation of the interviews that I had to go through to be given that.
That's why they play the game. What album is that on?
That's on Later That Night from 2014.
That was. I mean, what did Michael Lyons do for you on that song?
Michael Lydon.
Michael Lydon. L-Y-D-O-N. What did he do to help you finish that song?
Musically, I think that he helped me kind of like figure out how to keep it moving, because I had kind of the chord progression, but I didn't really know how to kind of tie it all together musically. But he was a very good musician. He was a good guitar player, and he was a composer himself. And so he kind of helped me tie it all together musically, and then he insisted that I put something of myself in the lyric.
That was worth it. Do you often seek help with songs?
No, hardly ever. I'll seek feedback, and sometimes I'll even take feedback if it seems to be good feedback. But I don't actively seek it very often because I don't know. I just don't.
Well, that seems to go against what Nashville is all about,
Well, yeah, but they write by committee, and the songs kind of all have this generic quality. So, the best songs are the ones that like the weird guys write. Like the guys that are kind of individualistic. I think are the best songs usually.
I never thought of it that way.
I don't know. I've co-written a few songs, but I don't actively seek out co-writers because for the most part it doesn't seem to. I often end up taking their ideas and not taking them, and then they're offended. So it's easier just to not ask. But with Mike Lydon, I knew first of all that he was a really good musician, and I was struggling with the music. So,
Well, I forgot what question I was going to ask there, Rod. So you have the songs, and you have the. Have you ever taught songwriting?
Oh, I do it all the time. I teach a workshop each year for Common Ground on the Hill in Maryland. Usually, the last couple of years, it's been virtually. So I did one this summer. One of my students won a major national contest with a really great song.
Oh, is that
he wrote
right?
the lyric to, and somebody else wrote the music.
You don't ever enter songwriting contests.
No, I really don't. I don't think I have in many, many years. For one thing, I don't believe them. I don't believe in them because I think that for the most part they're there to make money, but they charge you $35 a song, and then they get 10,000 people to enter it.
And if you win first place, what
you
happens?
Get $35 and 3 hours of studio time or something. But I think that for people like the guy who won the contest, that they're a good thing because he's not a performer, and he's co-writing with somebody who writes music for him. So it gave him a chance to, and the money's not a challenge for him. So he feels that he's got something to gain by it, and he did, get some national prestige. I was a judge this year for the contest, and I picked his song as the winner. I was a judge. I was one of three. I picked his song as the winner without knowing it was by one of my own students at the time. Because it's all anonymous, and he wasn't the guy who sang it, so I didn't.
I was going to say, that's kind of prejudice. You have that bias.
I wouldn't do that. I would recuse myself if I'd recognized the voice. But I didn't. I didn't know any of the names of the people.
Well, I'm curious. What is the song? It won first place.
It's called The True Story of Viola Liuzzo. I can't sing it for you, but it's a story. It's very good, and hopefully it will be on YouTube at some point. It is the story of a real person, a housewife from Detroit, who went down to participate in the Selma marches in 1965, and the Klan shot her. And she was working. She drove down in her own car, and she was working as a driver, ferrying people who were being beaten up by the cops, ferrying them to the hospital and back to the marches and stuff. And they shot her and one of her passengers on a dark road one night.
I'll have to seek it out. I'll seek that song out.
It's a true story. It's a really, really excellent song. I sang it at the Freedom Festival, but I put the words in front of me, and I didn't have a chance to memorize it.
That's become like a norm these days. That wasn't when you were starting out, but now you have an iPad with the lyrics in front. Do you find yourself doing that more and more?
No. I don't have an iPad. I don't want to do that. I will put the words in front of me as I did to sing this new song because I just wrote it 12 hours ago and haven't had time to learn it. But I don't like doing that normally. I don't have a problem with putting the words in front of me on a piece of paper of a brand new song, or I'll do that if it's. Sometimes I get asked to be in kind of these celebrity shows where you sing one or two songs by somebody, and let's say I've done a couple I've done, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 Phil Oakes song nights. I had to do one of Phil's tunes that had 27 verses one time. And
Crucifixion.
I'll put it in front of me because I think it's more important if you're doing somebody else's song in a concert that's a tribute to their music. It's more important that you actually get the right words, because if you don't have the right words in front of you, you'll be sitting there and you'll think, oh crap, I don't remember this next verse, and you'll make something up, which is not what the guy wrote, So to me, that's not the way to go.
Rod MacDonald is here in the studio. We know you're playing at the Big Brass Bed, playing at the Bamboo
Big Brass
Room.
Bed is playing the Bamboo Room Friday night in Lake Worth.
And you also told me that you'll be doing an Irish show at Galway Shaw on August 22nd
with Tracy Sands, yeah,
with Tracy Sands. So what else are you up to?
Mostly that kind of stuff. I'm working on some new material, some songs. I'm also kind of working behind the scenes. I'm editing a manuscript of a book I'm working on, a novel. Doing some research for my upcoming classes at FAU that'll start in the fall.
Whose artists are you going to feature?
I'm doing 2 lectures in the fall. Actually, 4. 2 lectures and 2 concerts. I'm doing the Great Protest Songs, which will be a historical survey of great protest songs. Oh, that was another thing about this new song I played at the beginning, Brother, You're Bound to Lose. I was trying to think of a way to address that, the last line, and I remembered, Brother, Can You Spare a Dime? And I thought, I like the sound of that. So I borrowed the brother part of it.
I thought you were singing, when you sang that first song, I thought you were about voting. I thought you were singing about the thing that's happening in Texas with trying to...
Not specifically. But if that's what's going on, it would certainly be included in there, yeah. Well, it's going on here, too. They just called a special session of the Florida legislature to redistrict Florida and get rid of all the Democratic congressmen. I mean, I remember, I think it was, I forget what year it was. It might have been 2018. but like 52% of the state voted for Democrats for Congress, and we ended up, I think, with 21 Republicans and 9 Democrats. You know,
It's because of the districting.
because of the way. Well, when gerrymandering was kind of an accepted practice, they didn't have computers, you know, and they didn't have the exactitude that they have now. Now they can fine tune it down to totally getting rid of people they don't want to allow to vote. They can totally get rid of them.
They could also fine tune it to make it very fair.
You could fine tune it to make it much more fair. Yes, the Supreme Court is not interested in it being fair. They're interested in helping their own party. So that they decided to not get involved in gerrymandering.
Is that right? The Supreme Court decided that?
The Supreme Court had a gerrymandering case before a year or two ago, and they decided to allow states to gerrymander at will, as their decision. That was their decision, that they could not interfere.
Well, you just upset me, Rod.
So that's one reason why this epidemic is going on. If those guys did their job, but you know, that's another whole story. If they did their job, then I suppose they'd have to institute some sort of fairness. I mean, that was what the Voting Rights Act was about back in the 60s.
I'll ask you one more question because it's on my mind before I have you sing your last song. You started your folk music career in New York City, fast folk, Jack Hardy, the whole scene there. Is there ever going to be like let's say, a revival of that scene?
Of that scene? I don't know. Does there need to be? I really
Susan
don't know.
Vega, Lucy Kaplansky.
Well, you know, I was just at Falcon Ridge, and I saw Lucy. Lucy sang "American Jerusalem" in her set.
Oh, very
which
nice.
was kind of fun.
Your song.
Fun for me, anyway. And Joe Janks was there.
He wasn't part of the New York scene?
No. Robin, who else was there? Patty Larkin from the Boston scene.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, I suppose that there are local scenes. There's a Nashville, Austin and stuff. There is a local scene in New York. There is a local club scene. There are people that are doing very well in the club scene in New York. It's not geographically centered in the area that it was in when I was there. It's not in the West Village. It's more in Brooklyn and the Lower East Side and places like that.
Have you gone back? Have you played there?
I've played the People's Voice Cafe in Manhattan every February for about 15 years. I'm booked there again in February this year. And that's in the Village. That's on Thompson Street. But I haven't played any. Oh, I played a club in Brooklyn called the Jalopy a couple summers ago.
So when you go back to New York, it's not like a reunion with old New York buddies.
No, I don't. No, it isn't. I suppose, and I don't really. You know, when I lived on MacDougal Street in the Village, I could go out any night of the week and go to a club, and everybody knew me. I never had to pay to get in, and you know, could go see anybody I wanted, or just go hang out, meet my friends, and that was kind of my social life. That's one reason why, if you ask me about music from all those stadium bands from the 1980s, I have virtually no clue who they are because I didn't pay any attention to them. But I was busy hanging out on a local scene.
And why did you leave that scene?
Well, I moved here in 1995, you know, to help out my parents. But by that time, the Village scene had kind of wound down anyway. It was pretty much over.
No Dylan there?
Well, the clubs had closed. Folk City, the Speakeasy, and Kenny's Castaways were all gone. Those are the three, and the Bottom Line. Those were the 4 clubs that had original music on a regular basis. Now it's in other parts of the city. But I know it's still going on. I'm not particularly a part of it.
Well, you do a lot of touring, so there's obviously a lot of folk music is going on out there. There's a lot of circles.
I think that COVID sort of nationalized folk music to some extent. And, you know, we did the Greenwich Village Folk Festival on the internet for 4.5 years. I think that COVID sort of made us all aware of who we are around the rest of the country. So, for example, I'm in touch on a regular basis or an irregular basis with people all over America, like Chuck Brodsky now and then, Daniel Bowling in New Mexico, Joe, who's on the road somewhere probably right this very minute, you know, various people. And rather than meeting up in the local scene, we tend to meet at festivals and other events.
That's great. That sounds like a great life. And when you sang that song, that's what.
That's why you play the game.
That's why you play the game. Is this your dream?
To do what I'm doing?
Yeah.
I suppose it is. You know, I suppose it is. I think that when I first started, the idea that I could get up in front of people and sing and they'd actually, sit there and pay any attention to me almost seemed like a mystical concept. But I realized that I had my moments when I really was pretty good. So I started, working at getting more of those moments and getting better at it. And the funny thing is that though my reputation is to some extent based on what I did in Greenwich Village and the early songs I wrote, I think I'm a lot better now, both as a player and singer, but as a writer. There's a guy who has a national radio program on bluegrass.org, and he just called me the other day. He contacted me 2 or 3 months ago, and he asked me to send him some songs that were like, obscure tunes that hadn't been released commercially on CDs. So I sent him some of the things I had in my computer, and he played some of them on the air, and then he played some of the newer stuff. And he called me and he said, I just want to tell you that I was blown away by how your writing has really gotten better over the years. He said, I didn't hear his program. I wasn't able to listen to it, but he said, I think your writing has really gotten better over the years. And it's somebody I've known for 30 years, at least 40 probably. And that felt good. I mean, you want to think you're getting better. You want to keep getting better till you drop,
That's really a wonderful compliment. That's great. And you need that. You need that to keep on going, don't you? Or what motivates you?
Yeah, that's part of it. That's definitely good positive feedback motivates you. People who tell you that your music's important to them, that motivates you. I mean, I don't know. And then you're motivated from within. Sometimes you got something you want to say, and so you say it. That's a big part of it too.
This novel you're writing, what are you trying to say in that novel?
Well, that's very complicated. It's a love story with kind of a political backdrop.
Do you write songs in your novel?
Yes. Have you read the open mic?
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I wrote all those songs that everybody else sings in the book.
Yes.
I made up all those songs too, but I tried to make them up in the style of what those characters would write.
Rod MacDonald is here. How about one more song, Rod?
Okay. Well, I was thinking about this song this week. This one's from Recognition. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Let's have the right tool for the job. The man who dropped the bomb on Hiroshima sat eating in a Georgia restaurant. Some chicken, salad, and potatoes, talking about the one big thing he'd done. I asked him, was there ever a moment when you wondered, am I doing something wrong? Did you ever have a single doubt inside you? You shouldn't let that one big thing be done. He said, they never told us what we were carrying. They didn't want to risk we'd change our flight. When we flew over the pre-programmed coordinates, that bomb fell out on everything in sight. And the man who dropped the bomb on Hiroshima said, I toured Japan after the war. I had to go and see it for myself, what it was we dropped that one big thing for. In every little airport and hangar were planes all tooled for suicide attacks. I left there believing we'd made that war end sooner, and man, I never did go back. Then the man who dropped the bomb on Hiroshima sat back in his chair and looked my way. He said, all my life I've been explaining that one big thing I did one day. All I ever did was serve my country. I loved my wife and looked after my kids. And sometimes when the phone rings at midnight, a voice says, how could you do what you did? He said, one day when I meet my maker, I'll find out if that one big thing was right. Then the man who dropped the bomb on Hiroshima saluted me and walked into the night.
Rod MacDonald. Another great song.
You know, I actually interviewed that man.
The man who dropped the bomb?
Yeah, I interviewed him for Newsweek when I was a reporter in Atlanta. 55 years ago, last week or so, or about August 1st, 10 days ago, I guess.
So that song reflects him.
That's what I remember him saying to me. He died in about 2003, and I saw his obituary. They printed it in the newspaper, and I read it, and it didn't remind me of him at all. So I started thinking, well, what's wrong with this obit? And then I went back to what I remember him telling me.
How did the obit get it wrong?
Well, they didn't interview him because they didn't write it till he died. Jay was just basically a factual recitation of where he'd spent his life and that he'd done that thing.
So he never knew when he was flying that plane, the Enola Gay, he didn't know he was dropping the atomic bomb?
Well, he said they did tell us it was something big and drop it and get out of there. Don't hang around. But he said we didn't know how big. We didn't know what it was. We didn't know we were going to incinerate all those people.
What a sad story.
He was a very plain-spoken, small-town, patriotic, rural guy. He was, not a dogmatic, guy who mouthed off. He was very quiet and very humble, actually, a very, very kind person, I think. He was being forcibly retired from the military at the time I interviewed him. His service was going to be up in, I think, 2 months or 3 months, and he was in the military. If you don't keep getting promoted, they basically get you out. You either get promoted or get retired. He was being retired because he hadn't made general, and he said that he didn't know that he was very upset that they were doing that to him because he still had kids in high school. And while they were going to high school on the base, it was in Warner Robins in Georgia, while they were going to high school on the base, they were protected from the outside world, from the people that would, harass them on the street and call and say your father is a baby killer and all of that kind of stuff. He said, and now they're going to have to go to their last, one of them has to go to 2 years of public school. And he said, I'm very frightened. And he said, and I've been in the military all my life, so I don't have a lot of money. It's not like I can send him to private school. He was, I think, a very, that old style patriotism of that generation. He reminded me a lot of my dad, actually, when I interviewed him.
Well, it's another great song, Rod, and I'm always looking forward to what's coming next from Rod MacDonald.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you so much. Rod will be in concert on Friday with his Bob Dylan cover band, Big Brass Bed, at the Bamboo Room. That's this Friday in Lake Worth. And then doing an Irish show with Tracy Sands August 22nd at Galway Shawl. Where is that?
That's on East Commercial Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale. And for the Big Brass Bed show,
oh, that's right,
advance tickets, save $5. Go to bigbrassbed.com.
Rod, again, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you, Michael.
Here's new music from Carla Gover.
Lose your mind a little, find your soul, kick it right on out of gear and lose control. Don't waste your life staring out